Hello, and welcome to another episode of Road to Mythic. I missed it when I logged in, but they did just explain through a nice infographic how the end of this season is going to work, and with the rotation of standard, with Throne of Eldraine and all those things. So all of that, if you're interested, I'm sure you can find it online. But last episode, we got back up to Bronze 3 and constructed. So, in the tradition of trying to keep pushing back to where we were last season, we're going to keep playing Constructed. Hopefully, this first game goes super well. Alright, looks like we found an opponent. Now, while we're waiting for them to connect, I just want to talk about, have you guys seen that new Throne of Eldraine spoiler list? Not spoiler list, the trailer that went up on Wednesday. It was kind of cool. I'm excited. One of the first sets I really started following the story in was in, I believe it was M15, when Garruk first came back into the story and started killing all the planeswalkers. So it's nice to see that they didn't just completely leave his story hanging by a thread. But anyways, cool. It's our turn again. We're gonna. This is gonna be a very slow game. They have a good chance to win. We'll see how this goes. Um, hmm. More lands as we wait to be able to play our charging monster sword, considering they probably have a counterspell. Augur Bolus, look at the top three. Very, very cool. So, I know school's starting for some of you people. So, leave your thoughts on how your school's been going in the comments down below. As for me, I started classes about a week and a half ago. Yeah, I figured that was going to happen. As for me, I started classes roughly a week and a half ago as of recording this. About 2 weeks ago as you're seeing this. And my classes have been pretty good so far. I have a really interesting what's the best way to describe this? Physical geology, oceanography, geology of the ocean, basically. Um, and it's super interesting because you're learning about the reasons why kind of the shorelines developed and how the ocean currents developed and all those other fun things. But it got me thinking about Ixalan, the plane, um, and just there's a part of me that wants to do like a game theory esque video about just how absolutely screwed Ixalan probably is in terms of its climate and like topography, and because I haven't done too much research into this, and I'm not an expert on this by any means, but based on what I can tell, it seems like Ixalan doesn't have any wind, and that's a bad thing. Um, but yeah, that's something I've had going in my mind. Problem is I don't really know how to edit that at all. Cool. Do they get all four of these relatively quickly? That's funny. Yeah, we're probably losing this game. Yeah, we'll see if they try and counter our 1-1. Cool. No blocks. The card draw is pretty okay. Hmm. Wonder. What if he's trying to mill himself out? Oh, whoa. When did they put that there? That's a cool new thing. So you can see 36 cards in library, 7 cards in graveyard, 6 cards in hand, 0 cards in exile. It's pretty cool. Pretty darn cool. Okay. I don't intend to win this. I'm just trying to see if they're trying to self-mill themselves or do something more generic. Cool. Alright, I think we're gonna move on to the next game in the interest of trying to progress as far as possible in this episode. They have definitely got us beat. However, that did make me want to retry our self-mill list just to see how it fares, since people are just kind of wading through a boring standard trying to see what happens. It'll be interesting to see how Throne of Eldraine shakes up standard, because there's a good chance we get some cool new tribes going on, or even just some interesting flavor-wise cards, but also some very powerful cards. It looked like in the trailer, some people like Garrick were really getting powerful. And I don't know, there was something about that the look on that gingerbread lady's face at the end of the trailer that makes me think interesting things are afoot. We'll let it enter tapped. Revealing information. Right, I forgot there's a 2-mana 3/2 in this game now. Not what I want to see. Well, syncopate it for one. I've grown on syncopate's grown on me a lot over this standard season and the last. Oh, even throw the Golgari icon in there. Cool. We can't do anything, unfortunately. We need a land. Cool. Another counterspell. My goal is that this green deck won't be able to get enough creatures out. But then again, with certain things in standard, it might be easier for them to come back than I've been thinking. We'll just have to see how this plays out. Or they might just kill us with this Cruel Harpooner if we don't. Really, all 3 Jaces in a row in the deck? That's interesting. We can get rid of one. Probably should have gotten rid of the Insight and just been able to draw cards, but oh well. Seriously? I mean, at least we draw another card that we can play, but like, seriously, man. Seriously. That bites a little bit. As does that. Cool. So, I think we have to do this, actually. Well, we just secured our fate. We're definitely dead now. That being said, at least it was quick. Maybe they don't attack? Nope. Good game. On to the next one. Three Jaces in a row, man. Can you believe it? That's insane. Let's see. How else I think it's going. I do have a regular job that I work. I work at my school's boating center, taking people out on trips and such on kayaks and stand-up paddleboards. I'm trying to learn how to do sailing. I'm also trying to learn how to do some camping, taking people out camping. I should have a training for that coming up next couple of weekends or so. But because I have training on Friday and Saturday, I really need to get this episode recorded on Wednesday, which is why I'm recording a day earlier than I probably should. Although honestly, I should probably record all episodes and whatnot this far early because it's just honestly it's better in some ways. That I'll have more time to edit this, especially since I've been trying to do a little more editing heavy on some of my episodes recently. So having the time to do that is going to be nice on this episode. I won't be trying to rush it out the door at like, you know, 11:50 the night before, which hasn't really happened. I've usually gotten them out by 11 the night before, and then I just recently changed my upload time from 10 a.m. to like 1 p.m. just because I feel like that'll make more sense for the people who have school and classes and all those other fun things. That way, most people get out of school around 4. Um, so if you're on the West Coast to the East Coast, it'll kind of go that way. Me on the, it means I'm kind of priming for an East Coast audience, but I'm okay with that. We don't have a blue source still. That's interesting. That'll be fun. Um, cool. We're gonna cast this down as well. If I got another black source, I could potentially -2/-2 everything if I draw both those cards. So we have outs here. Definitely not just dead to this Sapperling deck. But I want to hold this Mortify for something a little scarier than we've been facing so far. But we'll probably end up using it next turn just for mana resources and whatnot. We're gonna wait and see if they play anything, because they have 5 mana up. We have to. I mean, we don't have to, but we should. Just to get rid of something, Now we have no cards in hand that we can actually play. Blue source, blue source, please draw me a blue source. Blue source, blue source, please draw me a blue source. Please draw me a blue source. Hey, my pandering worked. We're going to play a Search for Escanta and then maybe Chemistry's Insight next turn. Assuming we don't have to counter something soon. Assuming they don't play something really big and scary and we just die. Which is also, a possibility. I also might do a bonus episode, no promises, on the new Throne of Eldraine Brawl decks that they just kind of put out. I don't know if anybody is interested in that, but it looks fun. They haven't played anything for a couple turns now, so that's interesting. Maybe they just flooded with land, and then we have a chance. This is going onto our library, because 2 blue sources is nice. This way we can Chemistry's Insight on the end of our turn if we have to hopefully draw into some more gas. But still leave up things like Absorb for whatever they play. I hope they play a spell and we can absorb it and gain some life and give us, another turn or so to live. That'd be nice. Absorb literally time does a lot for us right here. Yeah. I don't want to go so far as to say it's a time walk, because technically it's not, because they don't get their spell back, but for our life total it's a time walk. They probably have something else to play this turn. They've been holding back up mana for a little bit and probably were waiting for us to tap out, but still, that 8 life is nice. 8 life is really nice. We're going to go down to 5 here. 5 life total is never a particularly pleasant life total to be at. On the bright side, we get to look at 2 cards this turn. Potentially, if our first one. Right now, we're really looking for answers, though. because we need an answer for next turn. So that's not going to do it. So that's going into our graveyard. And we'll draw another black source and a blue source. So I think I'm going to try and get them off of us by playing out Jace. Because we really need to draw in to some more removal. Particularly that -1/-1 to everything. After a brief pause from our opponent, Jace does indeed come down, and we are going to be able to draw our card. Well, there's a Mortify. That's not nothing. But it also doesn't save us. Luckily, neither did the cards we milled, but if they play something really scary, we can Mortify it next turn. But then we die on the crackback. We're not in a great spot. I'm not gonna, lie to you. But we aren't dead yet, and not dead yet is what matters. In some circles, at least. I don't have anything else to play, so that's still nice. Search for Azcanta is going to get us a Dovin's Veto. We're going to put that in the graveyard. Decline the transform since it's mana intensive for us right now. This is what we needed. Well, maybe. We're gonna use Jace to try and draw us into something. But this Vraska's Contempt is really nice. We did mill a Cry of the Canarium there, which is not the funnest thing considering that's what really gets us out of this. But we will do that. And then we will gain our 2 life and be sitting kind of pretty. With a Dovin's Veto and a negate up. Things could be worse. Hopefully they don't get worse, but things could be worse. Okay, so we're going to counter this spell. We have to. We're going to counter this fungal infection. That way he doesn't get another sapling off of it. Cool. Cool. And we live at 4, which means we have another turn. We can Mortify. That means we've only got 1 turn left. It's going to be hard, but this is technically still winnable at this point. Their land, which means they only got 1. Okay, Tender Shoot Dryad is a big problem right now. Oh, wait. No, we lose now. Dang. Tender Shoot Dryad is a nice card. Nice card, turns out. We almost pulled that back. It's a lot more. We got a lot closer to pulling that back than I thought we were going to. That's for damn sure. I still believe in this deck. I know it hasn't won a single game on camera, but off camera, usually I get matched up against control decks, or especially the season when I was in Silver, it seemed like everyone was running a control deck. It was either that mono blue tempo list that was really popular for a while, or it was Cry of the Canarium. Nice one. Opening hand. We're going to keep this hand. Everyone was either running those mono blue tempo control list, or they were running like Bant Nexus, or all those other things that were really, I don't want to say oppressive, but they were just really running around and having their way with the format at the time, which isn't inherently a bad thing. Ooh, I like the Orzhov sleeves though. Very nice. And they are probably going to be on lifelink, which is actually fine for us because this is a mill deck, we don't actually care necessarily that their life total keeps going up. What we do care about is their creatures, like a Johnny's Pridemate, and especially once they get out of Cry of the Canarium range. So we're definitely going to have to Vraska's Contempt that as soon as we can get the mana to do it. But this turn, we're just going to be able to play up our counter spells and counter their threats. Like that Queen's Commission, we'll put our negate into the graveyard because we still have the Absorb, and honestly, against a deck like that, it's not super great. Same thing with the Dovin's Veto, because Queen's Commission is really the only main deck thing they run. We can Vraska's Contempt on their turn as they're attacking in. I think that's going to be the play here. We're gonna have to keep countering their stuff because I'm scared of that too, as well as the Ajani, especially since our life total keeps going up. Cast down. We're gonna put that on top of our library, and we're just gonna hard cast it to try and blow up this Ajani this turn. Keep some of our more interesting threats alive. Currently, we have 6 cards in graveyards, which means we can transform the Search for Kanta and get enough mana to play Jace next turn, depending on how things go. I thought this was mono white life gain. This might be the vampire list that I've been hearing rumors about. That's going to go into our graveyard. We don't necessarily need that. And we will transform our Azcanta. Play a Shrine tapped. We're just going to we're going to play out a Jace here. Because they don't really have anything threatening for it. And we'll give them another turn to play things that we can, like Cry of the Carnarium and Contempt away. And we got another Vraska's Contempt, which is nice. We don't have any other Jaces in our graveyard. We run 3 in this list. So if 3 Jaces hit the graveyard, we're done because I don't run any recursion. That might be a mistake, but again, this isn't this isn't some kind of top tier list necessarily. Ooh. You can just pay 7 life and blow it up, guy, but alright. So we're going to try and Contempt this away. Actually, I lied. We're going to draw our card first in case they, in response to this going away, they try and pay their 7 life. So we're going to try and do that. Give up 3 blue sources and a black source. Seems good. They didn't get rid of the Jace in response, which, honestly, very pleasantly surprised about. Then again, Jace to them probably just looks like card draw and for some reason filling their bin to them when we know it's true power. So exile target creature. And then they're going to keep gaining life. Cool. We can bring that on top of our library. And then we're going to decline to transform this one. Because if you have 2 of them transformed, you're honestly in for a bit of a bad time instead of a good time. Cool. Chemistry's Insight again. So he's going to have to exile his own things if he wants to use that. And we've got a Vraska's Contempt and a Cry of the Canarium and other things like that to deal with it. We're going to end turn here. He can gain his 1 life. We can absorb, we can Contempt, we can veto. This is the kind of controlling situation that this deck really thrives in. And which is why it's really good against control decks, because often you'll have this kind of stalematey state. Even though this isn't a control deck, this is kind of why it's working. I wonder if I think this might actually be that black-white vampires list that I've been hearing a bunch about through the grapevine. There goes the Wanderer coming out. I forget. She can exile creatures. We're not super scared of her exiling creatures, but still. We don't necessarily want her to come down either way. Sure. Like, don't get me wrong, ulting Jace gets us there faster, but it's not like we have to ult Jace in order to win. Discard our little Chemistry's Insight, draw 2 cards. We gotta settle the wreckage. That's actually really nice. Graveyard. We're pretty decent on lands. Decline the transform. Another Cry of the Carnarium, so why not use this one straight up and just kill his Dust Legion Zealot. Boom, it's out of the way. We don't have to worry about that anymore. We can just kind of mill and draw forever. Play an island, and then pass turn, have the Chemistry's Insight up on end of turn. I wonder if their opponent has realized that they've lost the game yet. Because at this point, I think they have lost the game with the way control decks work. I'm going to sack his Fanta. He's going to sack his Fanta of Renewal. And we're just going to counter his Legion's Landing. and then we can graveyard that. And yeah, he sees the writing on the wall. He sees he's dead. We have time for one more game. However, that game did push us up to bronze 2, which means we are getting closer and closer. Packed us over last season, like packed us over where we were at last season. This is currently still week 1 of this season. This is gonna be the last episode of week 1. If we can get to where we were in week 2, then we can keep growing, and that's how you slowly kind of accumulate higher. If I get big and I end up in Mythic, and this channel kind of grows in popularity, I'll probably end up streaming games if it seems like this can actually be some kind of a viable, source of income. Because streaming is a whole nother beast, and if I were to stream right now, I wouldn't have time to do school or my other job. So that's just some food for thought. Paradise Druid, cool. We have an Essence Capture and a Syncopate. And this Paradise Druid, actually this that Paradise Druid is really hard to kill, honestly. But anyways, we can Syncopate away the Dominates. This is what I was saying like earlier in this episode. Syncopate is just really a good card, except for I forgot how Paradise Druid works. So that's fun. I'll play an Ashiok, and we're gonna make them mill 10. We're gonna make us mill a bunch. We're gonna make us mill 4. Exile their graveyard, which is currently nothing. That Jace is in the bin, and that's saddening. There's a Sarkon the Masterless. Cool. Cool. We are probably dead. This game isn't over. Don't get me wrong, this game is not over. That, however, does also not mean that we've won. Currently, I have the last Jace of ours in hand. We're going to keep milling ourselves. Currently, I have the last of our Jaces in hand, which means this could end pretty poorly, actually. Because if they kill this Jace and smack us, if they kill this Jace and have any kind of hand disruption, we just straight up lose. We also might just lose to, like, damage. Like, that's a thing. I think we just lose to damage. Well, yeah. Okay. Interesting aggressive deck that I haven't seen before. Probably looks like a personal brew, but that's really cool. Really cool deck, actually. See, the beauty of Magic is once you get to a point where you feel like you're comfortable with the game. I wouldn't say I'm good. I feel like I'm comfortable playing the game. You end up at a point where all of the decks you see just kind of, you can feel the creativity for the ones that are kind of interesting and cool. Which isn't to say that some of the bigger decks aren't interesting and cool. Like some really cool deck. Some of the really popular decks have been really cool. Like the Nexus of Fate decks were interesting in that's that turn loop pattern that you would get by just kind of looping Teferi over and over and over again would really lend itself well to kind of an interesting different play pattern that we hadn't really seen before, or at least I hadn't in Standard. But some of my favorite decks across all formats, be them Commander or really Commander and Standard on Arena, which is primarily what I play, even though I had a Modern deck, but with that Faithless Looting ban, I don't think I have a competitive Modern deck. Actually, I need to swap 4 cards in for the Faithless Looting, but that's besides the point. With those other formats, it's really cool to always see a really interesting new deck come into fruition. For example, where's my collection? I think we got one a couple episodes ago. In Commander, Kaikar Wind's Fury has created a lot of interesting storm decks where there have always been storm decks in Commander just because Commander people try and push storm decks, but Kaikar's created really interesting kind of storm decks where you can where you can either make these massive 1/1 spirit creature tokens by going off like you would normally, or you can do that sacrifice a spirit, add 1 red to really just turn cantrips. Like if you have 1 red, draw a card. It literally just reads for free, draw a card and do whatever else it says on the card. Usually it's like target creature gains haste, expedite's a really common one. Uh, but Kaikar has really created these interesting combo decks that you always see Storm in other formats, but at least in Commander you never really saw a dedicated Storm deck that could do really well until you got to Kaikar with some of the new people are building Kaikar and then the new Jeskai Commander that they just released and building these really cool infinite combos that just kind of win out of nowhere with Storm. And not that anyone is saying Storm is a particularly new or a particularly novel or even a particularly hard win condition to get if you know what you're doing. Seeing that really come to fruition in Standard is really cool. In a similar vein, one of my favorite decks to play in Commander is a Dragons deck. Is a dragon 5-color dragon tribal deck that just kind of if it hits the stride properly, once it gets out its commander, it can often swing on the same turn because I have a lot of haste enablers. And so when the Dragon swings in, it, usually I can end up with like just dumping a whole bunch of dragons from my hand onto the board, and that's always a ton of fun. So I definitely would consider myself probably I think it's a Johnny player that enjoys the weird combos. But that's the main reason why I even play that not Manalist. Well, I did play Manalist Dredge, but again, that's another weird combo deck that I really love. But why I play this kind of self-mill deck that is just so much fun when it works, and even if at its worst at its worst it's a decent control deck, but at its best it's this weird janky win combo you wouldn't think you'd be able to win by literally milling yourself out, but it's so much fun and so rewarding when you do. But anyways, that's going to be it for today's episode. The renewal season is apparently coming up. We have this little egg in here that I can't really do anything with, but come September 26th, it looks like it's going to open. So I will hopefully see you before that, but if I don't, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.